Hello, and thank you for joining us for an episode of That Solo Life, the podcast about solo PR pros, people who work independently for themselves in PR and marketing. My name is Michelle Kane. My company is Voice Matters, and I am here with Karen Swim, head honcho of Solo PR Pro. Hey, Karen, how are you?
Hello, Michelle. I am doing fantastic. Thanks. How are you doing?
I'm well, thanks. I still have the New Year mojo working, so wrote out some quarterly checks today. We're recording on Tax Quarterly Day.
Oh, yes.
So I feel all bona fide and official.
That is honestly my least favorite task of my entire business. My least favorite thing to do.
Yep. I mean, glad to be able to, but you know. So with that,
speaking of the government,
we did do a podcast, a month or two or so ago on AB 5, the legislation in California that is causing some issues for a lot of people who work independently. So we wanted to do a little update on that, and then to turn things bright side, how you can maybe protect yourself from that by touching on a great blog that's up on soloprpro.com. It's startup advice from 22 of our fellow smarties, as we like to call them, because we are just so... I'm sorry, I just segued into we are so awesome, but it's just amazing how... So I just smack myself for a second, but really, just a lot of thoughtful, intelligent, savvy people that are in our group. So they offered some startup advice. So AB 5, we cautioned about it, and it is turning into having some real life ramifications for people who really are almost, I would call them collateral damage to just some misguided, really, legislation in my mind. But so, Karen, you had someone in your sphere who was affected directly by it?
I do. And so just to quick background on AB 5, it's California Assembly Bill 5, and it is a bill that really was supposed to protect people from being treated as independent contractors when they really should have been classified as employees. And so what's happened, over the years is that sometimes companies will make people an independent contractor, meaning that they are using labor, and, those people may be required to keep certain hours, to work in their office or on their location. And in every sense of the word, they're really an employee of the company. But they pay them, 1099 income to get around that, so that they don't have to pay overtime, benefits, workers' comp, and all that good stuff. So this is not a new problem. For years, there have been companies that have abused this, and when they get caught, they are caught for misclassification. There's been tons of misclassification lawsuits. Many of them have been in California. You can incur huge fines, and if you're fined that you did misclassify, they can go back for years and force you to pay any benefits that would have been due those workers. So it can be devastating to a small business if this happens to you.
Sure, absolutely.
So, while we agree that companies should not abuse people by trying to get around, and save money and do this, what's problematic in my view is that this is overly broad. It doesn't understand the types of independent workers, and it's penalizing people. So, for example, I know an independent contractor that's a VA. Her California clients have now fired her. She has other clients. She doesn't even live in California, but they fired her because they were afraid of this law. And that's ridiculous. She is an independent. She doesn't work on location. She has a contract. She works for other people. In every sense of the word, she can pass the federal test that says, yes, I am an independent business person But because these people were, afraid, she's lost her job. There are freelance journalists that are being penalized by not being able to, go past writing a certain number of articles per publication. This makes zero sense to me. So,
right.
The bill went into effect on January 1st, 2020, this year, and it's a nightmare.
Yeah. Well, as we were, discussing off air, perception is reality. So it's just the perception of, oh, you're one person in this company, so you must be, an independent, you're a freelancer. And, we've talked about that F word as well. It's like, no, I'm sorry. I am incorporated. I too have subcontractors. I run my business like a company. So no. So that's where it gets really frustrating, where people are people's livelihoods are being damaged when they're not even, they're not even part of really who this legislation is meant to quote unquote protect. So you're damaging all these other lives, and it's just really disheartening. So,
and I have to say, even if you do not live in California or have clients in California, beware, because there are similar efforts in New York, New Jersey, and Illinois, and presidential candidates, some are championing the measure.
Right.
So, our takeaway today is we're not attorneys. We're not legal experts, but we do know a couple things that you can do to make sure that you are in compliance. Number one is that become aware of the laws and what misclassification is. And basically, as an independent, you really have to prove that you're independent by, first of all, you should always work with a contract. Have a written agreement. Doesn't have to be a 50-page agreement, but you need an agreement that says you are an independent contractor. Act like an independent contractor.
Right.
If a client is requiring you to work on site and work certain hours, you need to be the one to educate them that that's a red flag, and that you have other clients. You should also have other clients. And, talk to your attorney and your accountant about setting up a structure that ensures that you really are an independent,
Correct.
Set up a C Corp, set yourself up as a corporation so that you are a business.
Right.
Most of our solo PR pros are businesses. And when businesses hire us, they're hiring a business, not just a person that's, working out of their garage.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. And, you'll find that doing so provides you your own protections. And, you'll speak with your accountant and determine what's the right classification for the amount of money you're bringing in, because they can really advise you. They can save you money. I mean, my goodness, it's you'll be amazed. Just taking those preemptive steps are really going to help you, which brings us to the next part of our podcast, where we're going to talk about these tips, these startup advice from our 22 solo PR pros that you'll find the blog at soloprpro.com. But my goodness, there's just such a wealth of information. I loved what Mary Barber said about just really not following your passion in some wide open way that isn't sensible. But she said, my advice is to understand what you're good at and create your business around that. That's simple. And really, create relationships with people who are good at complementary skills. I mean, that was the one thing that made me realize I could start a business. I thought, I love, at heart, I'm an information junkie, and I love, you need to know about this. You need to know about this. And I just knew that was one of the questions I asked myself. Okay, well, do I know people who can do graphic design? Because that's not my thing. Do I know people who are good at developing websites? Do I know, do I have a good relationship with printers? Okay, well, I know I can do strategy. I can do the writing. I can, do the project management aspect of it. Let's do it. So I thought that was really great advice from her.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I loved what Ben Finzel said as well. He, don't launch a business because somebody else told you that it would be good to do. Do it for you and because you want to.
Yeah.
And, he's right. A lot of times, people tell you like, oh, you should go solo. You should do it. But if you're not doing it for the right reasons, don't do it.
Right.
And he's right. He advises it's not for everyone, and that's okay. But if you want to do it, go for it, and then follow good advice. And I love, we're talking about AB5. So many people mentioned spend the money and get the legal and financial help. It's so important to set a strong foundation for your business. And I wholeheartedly agree. Have a consultation with an attorney.
Yeah.
Have a consultation with an accountant, and make sure that you're setting up your systems and that you're legally protected and that you understand what you're doing. Start off as a business, not just somebody that has a hobby.
Right. Right. It's all about protecting your interests across the board, because you need.
I agree.
Yeah, you need to be careful. You need to, make sure you have a fresh start.
Yes, I agree. And, I love what Ann Eisenhower said as well. And you could read all of this at soloprpro.com. Yeah. The article is Startup Advice from 22 Solo PR Pros that, Mary said, find what you love and do that. And Ann makes a good point about, and be able to articulate that.
Yeah.
That is one of the keys, and it's a piece of advice that I always give as well, is that you have to be able to articulate your value to clients. What do you do? And it should be short and sweet. She says that she has hers down to 5 words.
Yeah.
That's genius, because it should be simple, it should be succinct, and it should be something that someone could understand who's outside of the industry. Forget all of the gobbledygook and the search engine optimized ways that we describe ourselves and all of the cutesy titles. Be able to tell people what you do. And can I just say, as somebody who recently went through a bunch of LinkedIn profiles, some of those titles, like,
Oh no! Really?
What does that even mean?
Are we still?
What does that even mean?
The guru thing? Is that still happening?
Some of the titles are just. I mean, I get it. They're cute. They're catchy. But what does that really mean?
Right.
I think sometimes we're so busy thinking about being creative that we don't understand. And if that's your audience, go for it. If your audience understands it, that's my caveat. If your audience uses those titles, that's your target market, and it's going to be meaningful to them, do it. But if it's only meaningful to you and the insiders inside of your industry who are going to say, oh, I love that, that's so cute, but somebody who's looking at you that's in your target market has no freaking idea what it means, think twice.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, clever takes you so far, but when it affects the clarity of your message, I mean, that just goes across the board. And also I loved all the great advice on, so you're setting yourself up, right? You're going to have an accountant, an attorney. You're going to have a core idea of what your business is going to be. Now you need to figure out, all right, how do I get some business? And I loved what Jerica said about speaking locally. I know I've done that because, I think for many solos who start their businesses, we've all pretty much been communicators in some way, shape, or form our entire careers. But now we're presenting as this new entity, and this new entity that may only be visualized by 1 or 2 people. I know I came across this of like, well, what do you do? I'm like, well, I have a company, blah, blah, blah. Oh, so you freelance? I'm like, no, I'm a company. I'm standing right here, we're not all, it's like, we're not all, we're not all Deutsch. We're not all, these large agencies in Philadelphia or big cities. It's like, I'm right here. So, establish those partnerships, get your credibility out in front. And I loved also, what Lynn Harris Metcalf said, network, talk about what you do. She had a great story. She said, she went to a party at a friend's house, and out of that party got one of her longest standing clients. So it was just fascinating.
Yeah.
And that's,
what I loved about that story is that she actually talks about what she does. I don't always do that.
I don't either.
I promise you that if you ask somebody in my family, my great niece recently said to me, we were going to church and she said, but that's your job. And I said, no, actually it's not.
Yeah.
So my niece, because she sees me, work on the sound and media team at church and give announcements, she thought that was my job. And it was funny because it made me think about the adults in my life who have no idea. And I said, honey, Auntie owns 2 businesses. She goes, she was shocked. Her eyes got so wide and she goes, really?
See, right there, her perception changed.
It did, and she's very bright, so it was pretty funny because her reaction is exactly what I promise you 75% of my family would say, like, really?
Well, but I love the turn of phrase you used, which could mean everything, and I may start using it. You own 2 businesses, so to all of you out there who are thinking of starting a business, just say, yes, I own a business called X and we do Y. And that's it. And don't feel weird if you're a solo, don't feel weird about saying we, because like I said, you're going to have a team. It's generally probably not going to just be you on any particular project. Right. And it's okay. I mean, I love the fact that, one of the designers I work with, we were colleagues back in my Philly agency days. And so now instead of me running up the steel circular staircase to our art department, now I email her on the West Coast, and it's just like old times. It's fantastic. So you just never know. But getting back to talking about what you do, it depends. I mean, sometimes I just want to be off and not talking about work. But yeah, there have been times where I've made myself go to things, that maybe I wouldn't normally want to go to. I know, we've talked about this a lot. I go to the things, and just a random conversation has turned into a couple of clients, which brings us to the bridge, which Kristen Grieco brings up. Kristen Grieco Elworthy of Seven Hills Communications talks about referrals. I mean, how much of our work then comes from referrals, really?
For many solos, a lot, and which is great. We love referrals because referrals come, it's almost as though somebody has endorsed you when you refer someone. So you always want to cultivate those, but you want to make sure to not just rely on passive referrals.
Correct.
You want to put systems in place that cultivate them, and you want to teach your network the right people to refer you. So that tangent. But yes, build a strong network. I just, and so many people mention that what your network means to you. And it's true. Your network can, help you, test ideas. Your network can be a source of business because people know other people. Your network can be your support system. And so I truly believe that you should treat your network with respect. You should actively participate in it. You should cultivate those relationships. You should give and not just look to get. That's a big no-no. And that's a great way to have people not support you. Typical scenario is, the networker who is in a job and never bothers to find out what anybody else is doing. And then all of a sudden they're updating their LinkedIn profile, making a bunch of connections, and then they're calling you, and suddenly now they want to know what's going on in your life. But in reality, they really don't. They just want something from you. Don't be that kind of a networker. Be someone who genuinely is willing to give back, participates, and, you can't have coffee with, 22,000 people, but you can check in with people. You can, comment on stuff that they share on social. You can pay attention when something happens to them in their career or in their business, and notice it and, congratulate them. Don't just sit back and be in your
Right.
own little bubble and forget that your network exists until you need
because
them.
that's going to be painfully obvious. And even when you are out networking, use your soft skills too. Talk about what you do, but also don't just be so painfully obvious that you're there. What do you do? Who are you? Who do you know? It's I believe it or not, I've seen that actually happen, and you just sit there going,
me too.
really? What's your rush? Relax. We'll all get to know each other in time, and it'll be okay.
Yeah, and sometimes it's the other stuff that doesn't have to do with business that helps people to really remember you.
Yeah, exactly.
And to make a connection with you. Let's not forget that, that cultivating relationships is really about, creating connections with people.
I also love the advice they're getting of working on your business. And I know I fall prey to that, of not working on my business, marketing myself as much as I should, which I need to get better at in 2020. But Janet Falk reminds us that you are in the you business. Make your marketing a daily activity. Treat yourself like a client, and I also love what Carrie shares, and I'm not sure what direction she was coming from, but I've realized that too. An 8-hour workday is different than an 8-hour workday in an office setting. So, we could spend, if you get 5 or 6 hours of billable time in, if you're billing hourly, that could very much equate a workday. So I think what she might be saying there is, don't make yourself sit your butt at the desk from 8 to 5 because that's what you did before. That might not be as productive, Take a walk.
Well, yeah. And it's funny because I covered that topic on a recent, we're doing this YouTube launching your business series, and I spoke to that. It's the economics of it. So if you're out there today and you're planning on starting your business, you really do need to understand the difference between a 40-hour work week as an employee and one as a small business owner. You may very well work 40 hours a week, but all of that time is not going to be billable. So you want to plan your income accordingly, because you realistically will probably only have 15, maybe 20 billable hours a week. 20 is really pushing it, to be honest. Many seasoned solos will tell you plan for 15 a week and you're a lot safer, because you'll find as you start to do business that it's going to be very hard to manage your business, do the business development, do the administrative tasks, and manage client work. And you're not going to have as many hours as you think. So you don't want to say, okay, well, my income goal is X. And so that's going to be, it'll work out to an hourly value of X times 40 hours or 30 hours. That's not going to happen. You need to dial that way back. So that is really important to understand.
And you know what? Work from the outset. And I know we're going probably down a bunny trail of building out your rates. Make sure you work in personal days and vacation time as days where you won't be charging anyone anything. Holidays too take a different turn. It's like, yay, it's the holidays. Wait a second, no one's working. Uh-oh. So I factor that in. Because no paid time off. I know I popped in a client yesterday and they said, oh, so many people are out with the flu. I'm like, see you in April. When I call out to me, it's like, oh, well.
Yeah. I mean, that is a great point, that as you're kind of planning out the days that you work, from the onset, if you get into the habit of planning, that you will have so many vacation days and give yourself some personal days off so that you have a cushion. You build a financial cushion and you build your business around that notion of not working 365 days a year. And I promise you, I speak from experience because I have made that boneheaded mistake early in my career. And so, part of, what I love about the post, this article, is that these are people that have been doing it. They're not necessarily brand new. And so they're sharing not just great advice, but advice that comes from experience, advice that comes from making mistakes and having failures, and they really understand it. And so it's golden. I mean, I said to our members privately that, you know, as I was reading all of the advice, which is also applicable to people who are currently in business, it felt like a master class. It felt like sitting with a group of people that are so smart and really know their stuff, and, you know, sitting at their feet and learning from them, which, you know, I feel like that every day with our members. But this particular post was fun for me to put together because I got to tap into all of these very super smart people and share that wisdom with others.
You know, and one of the items shared is, you know, you need a tribe. And, you know I gushed about Solo PR Pro, and I will every week, because that group is amazing. It's a place where you can be a little vulnerable. I mean, I in all my time there, which has been a number of years now, you know, you don't get the sense of, well, I better not say too much because this might come back. No, yeah, it's great, but, you know, outside of that, you need to find people you can trust, trusted colleagues. I mean, I just spent time on the phone with a colleague of mine. You know, we just bounce things off each other. Someone to vent to, someone to do gut checks, sanity checks, so important. And that's for anyone in any workplace, to be honest. Even if you are, you know, employed by a company, you need people where you can be real with, where you can sharpen your tools together, really develop that network. And I think no matter how you conduct business in life, that will become invaluable to you.
Yeah. I agree. And, you know, we want to leave you with, you know, this thought. Ben said it best, you know, if this is something that you really feel that you want to do, don't let anything scare you out of following your dream. Don't be afraid of regulations. Don't be afraid of whatever people are saying about the economy. Just, you know, follow that dream, but do it in a smart way by setting a strong foundation and assembling a group of people that can give you the right advice to allow you to do that. You do need a support network. Don't forego that step. So with planning and with a strong foundation, you absolutely can do this, and it doesn't matter what conditions exist, and you can do it and be successful and super happy with it.
I think that's a great note to end on, Karen.
Well, thank you.
And you can. You know what? If an idea comes to you, there's a reason for that, and you need to honor that and see where it goes. So we hope, like I said, visit this blog post on soloprpro.com. There are also great free resources on the site as well. And we want to hear from you. You know, when you started your business, what would you tell someone thinking of taking the leap? So please, you know, check us out at soloprpro.com. Send us your comments. And as always, please be sure to subscribe to us wherever you listen to your podcasts. And we'd love some reviews there too. That would be fantastic. And all in all, we thank you for taking this time out of your day to spend with us. And we hope that it is worthwhile to you. So until next time, thanks for listening.